Hi guys, thank you so much for having me here. As she mentioned, I am a former club kid with the Boys and Girls Club. I was actually part of the Boys and Girls Club on the South Side. And when I was doing radio there, never did I ever think I'd end up in bigger places like Channel 9, B96 for 12 years, or even doing nationwide television shows for NBC for the Black College Quiz. And I recently left B96 about 2 weeks ago. I am now the host and voice of Chicago Sky, the women's NBA team. And I will be starting shortly with Kiss FM, making a change in my radio career. So for the kids that think this is just a class, I want you to realize that these are the activities that help you get so much further. And if it feels like you're just killing time or maybe it's never gonna amount to anything, I want you to realize that regardless of what environment you come from, background, neighborhood, whatever personal obstacles you may go through, absolutely anything is possible. And I've just begun as far as with my career, and I'm doing pretty good. So I know you guys have a very long time ahead of you, so I look forward to hopefully doing some more activities with you kids. And all I can tell you is aim as high as you possibly can. So on that note, I'm going to talk a little bit about your club, and I'm also going to give out some very well-deserved awards. For the past 10 years, the Barretto Union League Boys and Girls Club has offered its members the chance to broadcast on Chicago's radio airwaves. Now, the first 8 years featured a collaboration with Loyola University, WLUW, while the past 2 years have been aired on WCEV 1450 AM. Now, not only do the club kids get to give their opinions about issues that are important to them, the members also have the opportunity to interview recording artists, actors, and authors. This year, they even had Secretary of State Jesse White in the studio to discuss teen driving laws. So it gives me great honor to start naming off some of these great kids that are pursuing an interest in radio. First up for this year's Club Kids radio program that we're going to be recognizing for outstanding participation will be Israel Perez. And I brought some stuff too for you guys. Israel, come here. Here you go. Thank you guys. Dayundra Conway is the next person up.
AM 1450 WCEV Radio with Chicagoland's ethnic voice and the voice of the Utes. That particular Ute happens to be Kevin Irving. House ain't giving up. We also heard Steve Angelo with Teasing Mr. Charlie and Shock Stars JJ Flores and Steve Smooth on End of Chicago. All of those cuts can be found on Bad Boy Bill Behind the Decks Live. That is the collection that we'll be talking about today. And if you want more on Bad Boy Bill himself, it is at badboybill.com or myspace.com/DJ Bad Boy Bill. My name is Harv Roman. I am sitting in for the Club Kids Radio for this Sunday, the 28th day of September, Y2K plus 8. Finally, probably a year and a half or so after we originally had our celebrity hotline conversation, I uncovered the original tape. I was never able to replay it or upload it to wakeupdancing.com, because I could not find the bloody tapes. Well, we found them. And as promoted at myspace.com/HarvRoman/WCYC World /Club Kids on ML's Radio, Bad Boy Bill on the Celebrity Hotline. Bad Boy Bill has been doing DJ work for more than 20 years, as young as he is, and he's not normally one to sit down and have celebrity conversations with people like me, but since we know each other and we're cool like that, we're that close, he called the Celebrity Hotline. AM 1450 is WCEV Radio. Club Kids on MAU's Radio for a Sunday afternoon into the Celebrity Hotline. And we go, ladies and gentlemen, it is Bad Boy Bill. Bill, how are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, Club Kid Janisa was just on the phone with me as she was preparing to do a speech contest entitled If I Ran the Schools. And I told Janisa, you know, I'm about to do an interview with Bad Boy Bill for the Club Kids show. I said, would you like to do that? Who's that? He must be 32 or something. So I gave her an assignment to talk to her mom about Bad Boy Bill.
Uh-oh.
And apparently she's working on that right now. So, tell us a little bit about, I mean, you've been involved with the Boys and Girls Club. I want to say the first time you came to the club with us was, wow, it must have been more than 10 years ago.
At least. It's been a while.
And at that point, the kids were excited about you. You were on B96, you're doing all these mixes, and you were somewhat of a celebrity to them, and you're still doing some of the same things, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I had to get off the radio because I just didn't have time to do the mixes anymore. I started traveling a lot out of town and doing a lot of DJ gigs just in different cities around the world, and that really just took away my time to do the local mix show. But I missed doing it, and I loved it.
Well, there's an exciting project right now which motivated me to call you. You've got your Behind the Decks Live, which is not only a CD mix, but it's also a DVD. And when I looked at this, and I got it over at the Virgin Record Store, in case you guys don't know, I said, there you go. The guy's from Chicago. You used a whole lot of Chicago talent. You did footage in the Chicago nightclubs. You haven't forgotten where you've come from. Talk a little bit about this project.
Behind the Decks Live is the follow-up to my first DVD, CD, mix CD that I did 3 years ago called Behind the Decks. And what I wanted to do was just do a live mix. We film it. We used 6-7 cameras. We had a huge jib, and we did it at 3 different clubs. We did it in L.A. at Avalon. We did it in Denver at the Church, and we did it in Chicago at Crowbar. Unfortunately, Crowbar Chicago wouldn't allow me to set up on the floor near the crowd, so we didn't get any good footage to use in the actual DVD segment, but we used it in the behind the scenes and all that other stuff. But it's a really fresh take on the mix CD. I've tried to expand and take mix CDs to a new level, and the DVD format just opens up a whole new variety of ways to do that.
That was one of the things that I saw. Now, you had a DVD earlier on badass words that I won't use on the radio. And with that project, I made it a gift to your friend of mine, Tony Boom Boom Badea. And I said, look at what Bill is doing. What we used to do is we used to take video cameras and just film when Tony was mixing and stuff. And we'd get our kicks making copies and passing around so people could see how the crowd responded and whatnot. And then when we got the BAB, I'll call it that way, when we got the BAB DVD, I said, wow, look at what this guy is doing. You used a phrase, which I thought was a very cool phrase. You said we were taking it to a whole nother level. You must have did some brainstorming to come up with stuff that people are not doing, because obviously the mixtape industry and the mix CD industry, everybody's involved now.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many people out there doing it, and then you bring the whole downloading and people copying your mixes. So the DVD format is it's a dual disc, it's a dual layer. I mean, there's so much information on there, and the thing is, I tried to keep it at a price point where it's not super expensive. I think on Amazon it was $14.99 when it came out. I think it's $16.99 now. So it's almost the price of a normal 2-disc set. So it's and you just get a lot more value for your money.
Now, I want to flash back to when we first ran into each other, because we're talking about, Behind the Decks Live, we're talking about the BAB DVD, and I'm kind of forgetting that when we first met, you were at the age of a lot of our Boys and Girls Club members. You were a teenager when you began. Tell us a little bit, because I remember the old days where you just walk in with a crate of records through the back door, you do your job, you hang out, and you leave.
Hey, what's up? This is Little Susie, and you're listening to Harv Roman.
A little bit, because I remember the old days where you just walk in with a crate of records through the back door, you do your job, you hang out, and you leave.
Yeah, I mean, we would do 2 and 3 gigs a night, and we'd do 30-minute sets back then, and probably play 45 records in 30 minutes. I mean, it was a different time, but it was a lot of fun. And I was just a teenager. I started DJing when I was in high school and freshman year, and by junior year I was on the radio. I got a big break, and Farley put me on WGCI with him on his Jackmaster 5. And then I switched over and started doing BMX with Julian Jumper Perez and Frankie Hollywood. And that was all junior year of high school. So, and then, a few years later, I started off with Julian on B96, and that lasted a good long time.
Now, what was the story of you and your beginnings? As a teenager, I remember, listening to Tony doing an event when he was 14. He was like the first DJ and the last DJ in a 4 DJ group. And the kid is 14 years old doing stuff on a belt-driven turntable that I had never seen before. Is that your story? You're kind of in the basement, you're in the bedroom, you're 13 years old, and you're just figuring, I'm going to put some music together? Yeah,
I mean, basically, it was we didn't have a lot of cash, so like I bought one turntable. My friend that lived 2 houses away, he bought one turntable, and 1 week the turntables would be at my house, the next week they'd be at his house, or even prior to that we would buy records and take the L down to imports and loop and buy records, and whoever had mixing equipment, we'd go by their house and mix after school, and that was kind of the way we grew up. And then we started throwing our own parties, just at local banquet halls and stuff. We would be passing out flyers, and it was just real like grassroots. You know what I mean? It was real homegrown type of stuff, and it just built from there.
Now, at what point did you start sensing that there was a change, that there was a difference about what you were doing compared to what everybody else was doing? Because I remember hosting events where there must have been 20 DJs on the flyer. You had to stand out. So how do you explain you still being around 20 years later, doing pretty much the same thing, but on a whole nother level, when there were so many out there that were doing stuff? I don't know, man. I mean, it's just... God's blessed me with a gift, and I give the glory to Him, and I just say, I just do what I do and try to do the best I can, and I think the music as well, really staying on top of the music, and always looking for new music, and being able to pick out music that I think people, I pick out music that I like and play the songs that I like, and that's just the way I do it. I don't really try to think about, maybe the crowd's going to like this. I think about what I like, and if I enjoy it, then I'm going to play it. And luckily, the crowd usually is on the same vibe that I'm on. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the extra bonus footage on Behind the Decks, because
We're in Colorado. There's a place that looks like a church, but it's not a church. And you guys did a lot of, on the street, in line interviews, and these people are talking about you and saying, boy, I'm coming here, and it's for him. And every year that he comes here, I guess you make this an annual trek, and they just want to see and hear you. And when you look at these nightclubs, they're huge, so most of them aren't really going to see what you're doing. They're going to hear what you're doing. Explain that feeling, because that's not exactly doing Nancy's Pizza in Chicago.
Right. No, I mean, well, Denver's just a great city right now. I mean, there's just so much good energy. I do a thing there in the summer called Global Dance Festival, and there's probably 9,000 or 10,000 people at this outdoor arena called Red Rocks, and and these people are all there for electronic music. It's not anything else, and it's just a really good crowd and fun crowd to play for. So, I mean, anytime I go to Denver, you can see the way they respond, even in the DVD. I mean, these people are jumping up and down. I mean, you're right. I mean, some of them are seeing what I do. The people right up on me, but there's a lot of them. They're just into the music and they just love it.
Oh, that is awesome. And as an old school host, we met way back when. I remember the days where all you needed to do was play music, and there was a certain song that you would play, the crowd would respond, you've done your job, you go home happy. Now, if there's no performer on stage, if there's no giveaway, if there's no promises, it's tough to get that many people in a room based on just DJing alone, but you're doing it. And what people don't understand, and I don't know how often you just do regular nightclub stuff, what you do now has become an event. It's not just a couple of turntables and bill. As a matter of fact, it's the production is so huge that I probably couldn't even give it justice without saying, you've got to get the DVD. I remember the interview on the DVD where you say, well, I've kind of got a turntable now that maybe I scratch with.
Right. I mean, it's just, we've incorporated visuals. We've got dancers. Now I brought Alex Peace to do some emceeing. So, I mean, I've just, tried to incorporate different things to take the show up, a different level. Like you said, there's just so many people out there doing the same old thing. You got to give the people more. You know what I mean? And that's all I want to do is I want to give them more of the experience, more of the whole package, and that's what I strive to do.
You're talking about Alex Peace. He's just one of several who you're using in your entourage now, if you want to call it that. You focused on people you grew up with. You focused on people that you've been working with forever. We've known JJ since the days he was, producing music for DJ International. I'm sure this was something that you did intentionally, but you could have made different choices. Tell me about, staying true to, everybody here in the city.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have a tight crew around me. Everybody from JJ Flores, Steve Smooth, DJ Bam Bam, Alex Pease, and I keep a core group of, you got to realize one thing is that music is music, but these guys are beyond that. We're friends, and it's, regardless of all that stuff, I'm around people that I feel are honest and trustworthy and good people, and that's what I surround myself with, and that's why these guys have stuck around, and we all get along, and it's a good feeling. You know what I mean? It's a good feeling to have a tight-knit crew around you, and I couldn't have done the project without them. You know what I mean? And together, we all put our heads together. We are, and then you got Bo Basic, who's just a great producer and director of the whole project. So it's a team effort, man, and that's why I think the project looks and sounds the way it does.
Well, it's a CD collection. It's also a DVD collection. You have to get it. It's called Behind the Decks Live. It's Bad Boy Bill. And you don't do very many interviews, so I appreciate the fact that you're speaking with us here with the Club Kids. But you did do one for the DVD in the backseat of a limousine, so that was pretty neat, too.
Absolutely, man. But, anytime you call me, I got your back 100%. So anything you ever need, Harv.
After all these years, what stands out in terms of your experiences in the musical world, in the radio world? You come to the club and hung out late at night, and at the same time, you've blown out candles on a birthday cake at one of our Boys and Girls Clubs. What are some of the things that you remember, that you think about when you sit back?
I mean, there's just so many memories. You know what I mean? It's all from the DMC battles here in Chicago and the Tony Batola stuff at the Riviera and the Rainbow and doing all the mix show and like I said, playing just getting my first break with Farley and Julian Gentleman Perez throwing me on his shoulders and me scratching, and just there's so many different things from the old school, and then you got all the new memories. You know what I mean? I'm traveling the world. I'm DJing in Germany. I'm DJing in Colombia. I'm DJing in New York and LA and Hawaii and Puerto Rico and Canada. So I mean, it's just so many. I've been, like I said, it's just. When I first started DJing, I never thought it would take me around the world, and never, thought that I could, be a pioneer and a exposer of Chicago house music and Chicago talent, and I just, like I said, I feel very blessed and lucky and happy to be able to do what I love.
That was neat listening to your interview too, where you said when you come back to the Crowbar, you can play stuff that maybe you couldn't do in LA, you couldn't do in London, because here in the city you're very understood, and you can throw on a certain style of music, and the crowd just goes off.
Absolutely, and I mean, like I said, they grew up with me, and I grew up with them, and they, we have a certain knowledge about music and a certain history of Chicago house that, it runs deeper than a lot of other cities because it started here. So, that's one thing we have to be proud of is Chicago house music started here, and when you drop some of those classic Chicago anthems, I'm doing an old school party the day before Thanksgiving at the Congress Theater. So that's another, I only do those like once every few years. People always ask me, we want you to do an old school set, and I just, just don't really, I don't see myself as an old school DJ, so I still look at myself as doing new stuff, but like I said, every few years I'll do one. So when I do it, it's kind of a special thing, and that's one night when I can really play, the old jams and everything that people, grew up, and they tell everybody that's their favorite music is whatever they grew up listening to. So.
Well, there you go, Bad Boy Bill on the Celebrity Hotline. Harv Roman back live at AM 1450 WCEV Radio, Club Kids Radio, September the 28th. Hopefully, the White Sox will do something about that losing streak so they can get themselves into the playoffs, just like the Cubs are. We are not too far away from History of House Music Part 2. That occurs Saturday, October the 11th, Congress Theater, 2135 North Milwaukee Avenue. If you want to go to that, you can give me a ring. I might ting-a-ling thing. 773-777-1450, 773-777-1450. Former Club Kid White Knight, a part of that lineup. And Julian, who we talked about, also part of that lineup. And Shannon, our buddy, who called in for the Celebrity Hotline conversation a few weeks ago, will be a part of that lineup. And then on the 18th, you heard her voice a little while ago. Little Susie is at Studio 63. So, again, if there's things you want to do and you want to get involved, 773-777-1450. In the meanwhile, we must take a short break. When we return, more with Bad Boy Bill.
This is WCEV 1450 AM, Cicero, Illinois. Cicero, ethnic pride and international charm.
We're at earthsky.org. Hey, what's happening, y'all? This is George Lamont, and every time I come down to Chicago, I make it very, very clear and sure that I give a call to my man Harv Roman with the Club Kids.
Yep, there's another track containing Bad Boy Bill's name on Bad Boy Bill Behind the Decks Live. That is a CD, DVD collection from one of Chicago's very own, and he happens to be on the Celebrity Hotline as we continue to talk about 20 years of Bad Boy Bill. Kind of hard to believe, but that's what we're talking about next.
Well, and the fact that, you know, like Janisa said, you're only 32 years old. You can't be this old school guy with gray hair running around doing DJ stuff. But how long, really, do you think you can go on being Bad Boy Bill and just performing everywhere? It's been about a 20-year run so far.
It has. It's been almost 20 years, and I mean, you know, it's actually probably more than 20 years. But whatever it is, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to keep going as long as people are still into the music and still into buying the CDs and still showing up at my, you know, I would feel bad if I said, you know, I'm going to stop right now, because I know there's so many people out there that really are coming to the shows and are, you know, still wanting to see me. So, you know, like I said, as long as people are supporting me and people are into what I'm doing, you know, I'll keep doing it.
Now, before we go, because I know we're running short on time, your time is valuable. I'm going back to the DVD and I'm watching Alex, artist formerly known as Peace MC from when I knew him, talking about Columbia College, degree in sound engineering, acoustics, whatever it is. If there are young people that are saying, boy, I really would like to do this, it is possible, because you were one of those young people doing it too. What would you say to somebody that might be a high schooler that wants to play this game?
If you want to, I mean, if you really want to be into this, I mean, first of all, it's a long road. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, some of us get lucky. Some of us, you know, it happens for quicker than others. But the main things I would say is two things. One is, you know, stay in school as long as you can, get your degree. That's the first thing. And the second thing is learn an instrument. Because in this business nowadays, it's more about making records, like making your own songs and your own music, and that's what's going to get you DJ bookings and all that stuff. It's very hard as just a DJ to get yourself known out there. It's a lot easier if you could produce music and make your own hit record that becomes a hit in the clubs worldwide, or like a fast whatever. Just, you know, name a, you know, Moby or whoever, and then they're getting DJ bookings all around the world. That's a lot quicker. So if you know how to play an instrument, you know how to produce, start working, getting your own drum machines, start working with all the computer programs, Logic, Pro Music.
Well, that's a very important point that you make, because I know some young people who I've run, you know, at the new club over in Humboldt Park, and they've asked me for advice because they think that I'm somebody based on who I know, and they truly believe that 2 turntables are going to get them where they need to go. And I've tried to tell them to learn the music business. I've tried to tell them to get in school, and everything you just said about these programs and computers and actual playing and actual music and going to school and joining the band or the chorus or whatever, that becomes really important because there's only so many people that are going to make it on turntables. But if you have a full scope of what you're doing musically, you can make noise forever.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Dr. Dre. He started out as just a DJ, and now he's one of the greatest producers of all time. And that goes to show you, you know what I mean? He would just still be just a DJ somewhere, probably DJing in, California nightclubs or something. But the key was for him is getting his drum machine, get his MPC 60 or whatever he was using when he first started out, and making his own beats and producing, records. And that's the key. I mean, Kanye West, same thing. I mean, he got his drum machines. He started producing, hours and hours on that drum machine. And that's what's going to pay off in the long run. It's not going to be DJing and just DJing only. You've got to really expand that. And even me, I've had my record label. I started my record label senior in high school. I started producing records, all through the late 80s and early 90s. I was producing a ton. There's 3 of my original songs on my new mix CD. So I'm constantly producing as well and remixing other people's music. So that's very important.
And that's one thing I can say. You are a genuinely good guy, and a lot of the names that have been there 15, 20 years ago, have come and gone. You've been a constant, and heck, I haven't even thanked you for. I remember when I got your Bang the Box CD all those years ago, and I'm one of these that I read all these liner notes, and I like to see names and stuff, and all of a sudden there's the name.
Right.
And I think you actually mentioned me on the first 2. So I must have a real impact on your life, Bill.
Absolutely, Harv. You know that. I mean, and especially, my thing is, the bottom line is you got to support who supports you. And even though now, I have about 10 pages of booklets, I still try to shout out everybody I can and everybody, who's in my circle at the time when the CDs come out. And I think at that point we were playing basketball every week over at the club. So.
That's one thing I can say. You are a genuinely good guy, and a lot of the names that have been there 15, 20
Denzel Washington for the Boys and Girls Clubs.
In my hand, I'm holding a 2-inch by 3-inch piece of paper that has changed the lives of millions of young people. That's kept them off drugs, out of gangs, and in school. Now, what could be that powerful and still fit in the palm of my hand? A membership card from the Boys and Girls Clubs. Every day, another 300 kids will join clubs all across the country. That's 300 kids who will be picking up a membership card instead of a gun or a needle or a knife. Too many people feel like they can't make a difference, but I'm telling you this. Put this card in the hands of a child, and you will change that child's life. Do that, and you can change the world. It's up to all of us. Support a program that works. The Boys and Girls Clubs, the positive place for kids.
For more information and to find out how you can support the Boys and Girls Clubs, call 1-800-854-CLUB. That's 1-800-854-CLUB.
This is comedian Patty Vasquez. You're listening to Club Kid, What are we listening to?
Kids Club on the radio. Club Kids.
On the radio
Kids
station.
Club.
On the radio. Something station. 88.7.
This is comedian Patty Vasquez. You're listening to Club Kids on the radio.
That's one thing I can say. You are a genuinely good guy, and a lot of the names that had been there 15, 20 years ago, have come and gone. You've been a constant, and heck, I haven't even thanked you for. I remember when I got your Bang the Box CD all those years ago, and I'm one of these that I read all these liner notes, and I like to see names and stuff, and all of a sudden there's the name.
Right.
And I think you actually mentioned me on the first two. So I must have a real impact on your life, Bill.
Absolutely, Harv. You know that. I mean, and especially, my thing is, the bottom line is you got to support who supports you. And even though now, I have about 10 pages of booklets, I still try to shout out everybody I can and everybody, who's in my circle at the time when the CDs come out. And I think at that point we were playing basketball every week over at the club. So, I mean, you're very important. I was getting my exercise on with you, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, I say it in jest, but I also, at that point, said, it's something that you don't have to do. You don't have to name everyone that you could possibly name, but it just points to the type of person that you turned out to be, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that, but I also want everyone to know how genuine you are, because when you hear the name Bad Boy Bill, there's no gossip connected, there's no politics connected, it's just Bill. And that's a very rare thing these days.
That's another thing. I mean, you talk about what, other than learning an instrument and all the programs and all that stuff, it's being a cool person. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of these promoters have booked me and rebooked me, maybe the night wasn't the best night. Maybe they promoted me in Denver the first time I went there, and people didn't know who I was. But because I was cool to the promoter, and I was, generally a cool dude, they were like, you know what, this guy's cool, let's bring him back again. That's half the battle. You got a lot of these DJs who show up with an ego that's bigger than the DJ booth, and you know what? That's going to be it. It's like they're going to invite him one time, and they'll never have him back again. You know what I mean? And that's something you got to think about, man. It's keep your ego in check. It ain't about, it ain't all about you. It's about, making people dance and having a good time, and keep your ego in check. Be cool with people, and you go a lot farther.
And it's not only in DJing, it's in everything that you do in life, and I appreciate the time that you've taken time out. And if anyone who's listening, Club Kids plus anyone else, they can truly learn from you, and there are very few that are better examples than you in terms of how you turned out to be. So I do appreciate that, and I do thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's some words, and we'll hear also some music with Bad Boy Bill with the Club Kids. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Fucked with all lights and dressing nice. I'm just a regular guy, that walks into a club and wants to hear a groove. Give a fuck less about all those girls over there, man. I've had girls, man. All different types. My life ain't gonna change tonight, but yours is. this groove right here. Right now, all we need to do is just bob our heads to this groove right here. Right now, all we need to do is just...
You know, Crystal Waters, of course, she comes straight off of a project with Mr. Rodman.
Yeah.
You may have to start piercing yourself and getting tattoos just to keep up with the...
Already pierced.
Get out.
Yeah, I have my nose and my belly button.
Yuck.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, yuck. That's painful.
For a few minutes. That's it. I think people lie when they say that the belly button piercing doesn't hurt, because it does.
Well, yuck.
Does.
I wouldn't do that. I don't know why Mr. Rodman does it. So this must be a whole Crystal Waters thing. She'll just be looking for people with piercings and tattoos in order to...
She's really nice, and it was an honor working with her.
Wow, that is so cool. And how about your parents? As soon as you said, I want to pierce my nose, for instance.
Well, I've been wanting to pierce my nose since I'm 15, and they told me no. As soon as I turned 18, I told them, I said, I'm going. It's my birthday present to myself.
That was your gift?
Yeah, that's my gift to myself.
And the belly you did undercover? They just never knew?
Oh, no, the belly I did with my mom.
Hey, it's Little Susie, everybody, and that kind of wraps us this particular edition of Club Kids Radio. My thanks to Bad Boy Bill for hanging on the celebrity hotline and having a conversation with us, a rare conversation with Bad Boy Bill that if you want to replay it whenever you feel like it, go to wakeupdancing.com, clickety-click, and there it will be later on today. Why did we play Little Susie? And she talked a little bit about Crystal Waters, because it's kind of a weird Chicago thing that's happening. Crystal Waters coming to Chicago October the 11th at the Congress Theater, and then Little Susie the following weekend at Studio 63. It's kind of a weird little separation game that we're playing there. And you can hear and read more about that, historyofhousemusic.com, or go to any of the MySpaces /Harv Roman /WCYC World /Club Kids on Who's Radio. My thanks to you, the listener, for putting up with me to DJ. Next Sunday, Club Kids once again live in studio, hopefully talking about victories from the Chicago Cubs, victories from the Chicago White Sox. At least you would hope, because they're both that close. The Cubs are already in it, and as of this moment, all the White Sox have to do is win today, win tomorrow, win Tuesday, and they're in. It'll be very, very cool. And if not, sitting ovation for the Southsiders anyhow. It's time for us to say goodbye. That's why this song is playing in the back of your head. It's the Spice Girls, everybody.